voice of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. It's the George Plaster Show, featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famers Kelly Holcomb and young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It's a beautiful Monday afternoon in Nashville from our digs at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. We have a crazy weekend to try to look back on what I, over the years, have called Reaction Monday, and we will certainly have our share of reactions and then some. But first, we say hello to Kelly Holcomb, who joins us from Murfreesboro. Kelly, how are you?
Good, George. How about yourself?
Good. Did you watch a lot of football?
I watched enough, that's for sure. I watched enough to know that the Dallas Cowboys last night are not very good.
No. That appears to be a train wreck coming.
Yeah, that's a fire sale. I saw today where my daughter sent me something where Dak Prescott's making like $85 million this year, and Brock Purdy's making $985,000, and Dak Prescott is making over $4 million a game, and Brock Purdy's $58,000, which that's still really good. $58,000 is really good for a week, but $4 million a week, wow.
Yeah, I'd like to try it. Well,
Yeah.
Maybe not. Anyway, we got a lot to get to. Let's check in with Billy Derrick, ladies and gentlemen. Billy, how are you?
I'm good.
You watch a lot of football?
I did on Saturday. It was interesting. I mean, Texas goes up 21-7 on Vandy, and the feeling was, here we go again. It's too easy for Quinn Ewers. He started the game 17 of 17. And Vandy snaps back out of it in the second half. They get a couple of picks on Ewers and a sack here or there, and they make it close. I know we'll get into that, but they hung in there.
I never thought I would say this, given that the score was 27-24. And Texas had something to do with this, but I don't think Vandy played all that well.
Right.
That was not one of their better – that was certainly not the performance that beat Alabama.
No.
But again, Texas had something to do with that.
But to beat them, they had to play their
game.
A. But they didn't, and they were down. They lost by 3.
Yeah.
So.
But did you ever at any point say Vandy's going to win this?
Not really. I didn't
either.
I told my dad later that night that Texas wasn't going to lose it. Kelly, you've probably been in games like that where you just weren't going to let that other team beat you. It might have been a 1-point win, but you were going to do whatever it took. It almost felt like Texas. They knew they were better, and they were going to do whatever it took.
No, Alabama sleptwalk in it, and they got shocked, and that's put everybody else on notice that they better buckle their chin straps when you play Vanderbilt, because it's not an easy game this year.
Buckle up, Buttercup. We're a football school.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay, let's check in with Terry McCormick, get our daily Titans update. Terry is one plane ride away from being in the Big Apple for Game 4 tomorrow night between the Dodgers and the Yankees with the child. Terry, How are you?
I'm good. I'll be better if the Yankees could actually win a game tonight so that Game 4 will mean something.
Yeah, 3-0. When you get into these series, 3-0 doesn't give you a lot of warm and fuzzy.
No, it doesn't. And they've had their chances and just haven't not hit the ball well enough.
The Titans don't give me any warm and fuzzy either. An embarrassing loss yesterday in Detroit, more of the same. Special teams was a complete joke. Terry, let's start with the injury update. What do we know? What don't we know?
Well, really, nobody came out of the game with any injuries, and it's also starting to sound like Will Levis may be on track to at least return to practice this week with an eye on playing Sunday. Now, I think, and tell me if you disagree, but I think that given the situation that they were in and the fact that he had a bum shoulder and wasn't playing all that great, I think that they were smart to give him a 2-week break against two of the toughest teams on the schedule that they will face on the road. And they got predictably waxed in both games. And this way they can bring Will Levis back this week against a game against New England that's very winnable and much easier for him to play well.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally. And it's just so happened that happened that way. But yeah, I got to totally agree with that, Terry.
So, Terry, they play New England Sunday in a matchup of two horrible football teams. Now people are really getting into the whole, they're going to be bad enough to be in the, whatever slot in the NFL draft. From your observations, defense is cratered a little bit. You think the effort's totally there?
Well, it certainly looked rough at times yesterday, but Brian Callahan said he saw guys that were still hustling even when it was 52-14. So I'll take him at his word on that. I just think that this team has a lot of problems. This team has players who are not executing very well. You saw that on special teams yesterday, and his reasoning for that was that they put in guys who were bigger to be able to prevent the punt block problem from reoccurring, and they solved that. But those guys are also slower, so now they have a punt coverage problem. I think part of it is this. When Mike Vrabel was the head coach, he and his staff kept probably too many guys who their only role was they could play on special teams and cover a kick, cover a punt. When injuries hit, sometimes those guys had to be put on the field to play offense or defense, and they were found incapable of doing that very well. So the new regime cleared out most of those guys. Matt Jackson, Anthony Kendall, Hassan Haskins, guys like that whose forte was special teams, and replaced them with guys who maybe are a little better playing offense or defense. The problem, those guys are not very good on special teams, and you're starting to see the results of that show in first the block punts and now the change made covering punts and kickoffs. So it really is kind of a, rob Peter to pay Paul situation, and the Titans have been bitten on both ends of it.
So I listened to Callahan's press conference today. Some very interesting questions. He's a guy who's easy to root for. But, Terry, I'll admit, I am starting to wonder if this regime knows what they're doing.
Well, it certainly seems like that, there's evidence headed that way. And the thing of it is, some of this, though, is on the players because mistakes keep being made. It's like I said yesterday on Twitter. This team's like a 2004 Saturn. You fix one thing, you take it back out on the road, and something else breaks down on it. It's just become a complete mess. And I don't know if that's because the roster doesn't have enough depth and enough talent, top to bottom, to be able to compete. I don't know if the coaches are culpable in terms of not being able to pull it out of these players. It's not a good situation that they're in, and the truth probably lies somewhere in the middle because you have a lot of first-time coaches, not necessarily first-time coaches, but first-time guys in these roles. Figure this: Brian Callahan, first-time head coach, first-time play caller; Denard Wilson, first-time defensive coordinator; Colt Anderson, first-time special teams coordinator. So
Get rid of him.
When you combine all that with a roster that is not very deep past the starting 22, this is what you get.
Terry, we'll continue it tomorrow, although I'm not sure exactly logistically how we're going to do that, but who knows?
I think I'm going to be in the air while you're on. While you're on the air, I'm going to be in the air. So I'm not sure
I think Phil Collins may have done a song on that.
Yes.
Who knows? Maybe we get a live report from Yankee Stadium. Either way, you need to get a win tonight.
We do.
Take care.
Thanks.
That is Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update. Billy, tell me that the update has massive meat on the bone.
It's got huge meat on the bone.
I figured it would.
This is a 3-course meal today.
Yes.
Not just the meat. You got a couple of sides in there as well.
Like
really
appetizers, dessert,
some mashed potatoes, some green beans, and
now green beans.
Is it a little Cane Prime Wagyu beef? Is that what we're talking about? Substantial.
I don't know if it's that. It's close to that. Probably more like Jimmy Kelly's.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll see.
Move on.
Moving on. This update is brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgagelady.usa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Real quick to add on to the Titans, I know we're belaboring the point here, but according to A to Z Sports Nashville, the Titans are not firing Colt Anderson. Brian Callahan is backing his guy and says Anderson knows special teams.
No, he does not. He clearly there are any number of unemployed special teams people out there right now that could fix this problem. No NFL team looks like this in special teams. Therefore, Billy, put me back on. For those of you watching, out. Tired of it. Sick of it.
George. Wow.
I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing.
Let's give them a few more weeks.
No, let's don't give them a few more weeks.
You're 1-6 right now, George. What's the problem? We were going. Hey, just give it the whole season. You might as well, and then get him out if they keep screwing up at this point.
Look, don't act like people. This is a production business.
I agree. I totally agree. Totally.
I'm with you. I'll say a couple weeks ago I was on the wait a little bit longer train.
Oh, yeah, because I came out like a hawk, and you all just sat there. Oh.
You were ahead of the game. I'll say that.
You want me to do that again, Kelly? Here goes.
I'm like Tony
tonight,
Basilio. I've got to apologize. I'm sorry. You're right.
Tonight we've got what's called a sports equinox. World Series Game 3, Monday Night Football, 8 NHL games, and 11 NBA games.
I drive an Equinox, if anybody's wondering. Yeah.
This is George's kind of night.
Hey, and he needs to take it to the wash, too, because it's really dingy, bad.
It is, but Billy's is just as bad.
Well,
hey,
Billy's
yours
is a 1969 Nissan Altima.
I actually try to get mine washed, though. I don't.
I make no effort.
Yeah.
Nixon administration.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Tonight, good game, even though the Giants are awful. They are an underdog by 6 tonight. The Steelers have won 21 straight Monday night games at home. The last time the Steelers lost on Monday Night Football was back in 1991 against the Giants. So you got some mojo going around. Although Daniel Jones is 1-14 in prime time. So, but I'm interested. Do we see Justin Fields at all tonight? He is on the injury report as questionable, but I got a feeling we might see a little Justin Fields tonight.
Could
for the Steelers.
Why?
I'm feeling it. I mean, Russell Wilson. I know they've won with him in there, but I think they'll get to a point where you'll have to have Justin Fields'
down on the goal line, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah.
Some packages.
Okay. So, all right. Am I correct? We're going to get video in the update?
We are going to get video. Bears cornerback Tyreek Stevenson apologized last night after taunting the Washington crowd just seconds before giving up a Hail Mary touchdown as time expired to lose to the Commanders 18-15. He posted a video apologizing, but here's the video that ultimately matters. You can see him here taunting the crowd as the play starts. So Daniels says hut. He rolls to his left, rolls back the other side. Ball goes up in the air. And who's the player that comes over and tips it? Number 29, Tyreek Stevenson.
There you go. Always better to keep your mouth shut.
But here's the thing, okay? The difference between me and y'all is y'all are just going to sit there and go, me?
So what are you going to do, George?
I suspend him for a game. I don't put up with that. He's suspended this Sunday. He is not playing. If you can't care about your teammates and your football team more than that, you don't deserve to be out there. that is just the action of a complete buffoon.
Buffoon.
I have never understood defensive coordinators and head coaches when it comes to the last play of the game. Why do you give the quarterback an opportunity to scramble around and throw the ball? I don't know if y'all watched the Indianapolis Colts yesterday, but I thought the Houston Texans did a great job. They had 3 guys rushing, and they had the Anderson kid kind of spying the quarterback. When he took off running, the Anderson guy went after him and sacked him. That's how you do it. You cannot let him throw it, because when it's thrown up in the air, Aaron Rodgers has shown this, it's a 50-50 ball. Why you let him throw it?
So show the play again, but just sort of go slow on this at the beginning. Because as the play starts, look what he's doing.
Oh, I know.
What a dope.
That's overconfident. That's overconfidence, that's for sure.
I mean, really?
And the good Lord has a good sense of humor sometimes, because this is exactly what happens. When you get one hand on the ball, more than likely it's going to tip up in the air. That's why you should go up with 2 hands and knock it down.
So let me ask you this. Can you imagine the flight home last night from our nation's capital, that area, to Chicago, and this video starts to surface? Because this is clearly taken by somebody in the corner of the end zone of that stadium. And the CBS feed of it never shows us that. They may have never known it. Look at this. I mean, what a dope.
That's blatant.
So let me ask you this. I'm actually asking something because I am curious. Okay, because my style is I'm not putting up with that. He's suspended this week. How many of the players on that team would support that move?
Ooh, that's a good question, George. I don't know. I don't think it. In today's game, it's different, George. I've told y'all this before. It's different. It's a different era in sports. I don't think anybody will. I mean, that's just a bad judgment on him.
Right.
I don't know if anybody gets upset about it. I really don't. I think it's a deal that you got to make the play, and I don't think he's going to get suspended. What do you do about it? And guys nowadays are not going to do that. Now, if you got the Charles Haley's of the world and all that, they would physically fight the guy probably.
AP poll is out in college football after another wild weekend. Penn State and Ohio State hold their places in the poll, setting up the 4th top 5 matchup this season. So another monster game this weekend in State College. A&M rose up to number 10 after beating LSU at home. Colorado's into the rankings. Vandy falls out. And we'll get into that, I'm sure, at the top of the hour. I think Vandy probably should have stayed in. There's some teams, I think they're better than Missouri right now, especially with Brady Cook out, but I know we'll get into that. Some games announced for not this weekend, but next weekend. South Carolina at Vanderbilt. That's a 3:15 local time kickoff. That'll be on the SEC network. Tennessee, another night game at Neyland Stadium against Mississippi State, either at 6 o'clock or 6:45. Georgia Ole Miss got the 2:30 ABC slot. Alabama at LSU Saturday night.
Yeah.
Also,
bring it on, baby.
Penn State, we'll be previewing that game. Drew Aller's availability for the Ohio State game on Saturday is up in the air. I'm sure he'll give it a go and try to play, but we've got all week to talk about that. He left the Wisconsin game at halftime with a knee injury. Franklin said it'll be a game-time decision. So, and I don't even know who their backup is. So, that's something.
Well, the
to watch.
backup came in the game against Wisconsin. Now, it helped that they got a pick six. I don't know if it was a pick 6 or way down deep in Wisconsin territory. Drew Aller, to me, I just yawn. I'm like, I've heard all this great. I've heard all this great stuff about him, but I never see it.
You take Trace McSorley over Aller? Because I think I would, especially at the
mile. But he's not. I mean, he's no longer there.
I know. I'm saying as a college quarterback, because like McSorley's the best quarterback they've had under Franklin.
Yeah.
A couple other pieces. Rice has fired coach Mike Bloomgren. He's been there 6 years. Got off to a 2-6 start. We'll see who Tommy McClelland hires former Vanderbilt associate AD or whatever that title was. So,
well, he should not expect people to be knocking down his door. Rice is a tough job.
You're like what, the 7th school in Texas in line?
If that.
Yeah. UCF head coach Gus Malzahn parted ways with defensive coordinator Ted Roof, who actually made a pit stop at Vanderbilt and a lot of other schools, and has made some quick pit stops at other schools. So they've got a 5-game losing streak. UCF does. And I'll never know why they were favored over BYU, but they made that move.
Feels like a scapegoat.
What
We'll
happens?
Yes.
Game 3 tonight, Dodgers-Yankees. Derek Jeter throwing out the ceremonial first pitch. I'm looking at Aaron Judge tonight. He hasn't been himself in these first couple of games, and the Dodgers are getting Ohtani back. I don't know if Ohtani's going to be 100%, but here's an interesting stat. It involves the Braves as we go to the break. Since 1995, 13 of 14 teams that have gone up 2-0 in the World Series ended up winning it. The one that defied the odds, the 96 Yankees.
Yeah, whatever.
Over the Braves. That's
ancient history. Let's move on.
Terry likes that one.
No,
It's
I know he
obviously
does.
not ancient in your mind, George.
Oh, no, because I was there for part of it. Terry probably was too. Terry, give me a thumbs up. I see you still listening. Did you mooch a ticket off of me for that World Series? No reaction. Well, he's thinking about it. Okay, after the break, it's Kelly's Titans analysis, but trust me, I will be right in the middle of it. I'm tired of watching it. Stay tuned.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
As it shifts to New York. Our coverage begins at 7.
Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Don't stop believing in the Titans, George.
Yeah, whatever. So they've gone on the road the last 2 weeks where arguably none of us thought they would win either game. But to lose by 62? Really? 62? You got to try hard in the NFL to lose 2 games by 62. In college, yeah, it happens. On the pro level, it should never happen. And Kelly, when I got the text that even you were starting to admit that, hey,
I did.
This special teams thing is completely out of control. They gave up something like 260 yards yesterday in special teams. That's a joke.
That truly is a joke, George. I was watching yesterday, and Terry may have a point. I don't know if there's no excuses when it comes to stuff like that. But if they're playing a lot of guys that's not played special teams because Mike Vrabel loaded the roster with guys that he wanted on special teams, strictly on special teams, and when they had to back guys up that were first team or second team guys, and they went on the field and they didn't play good. That is a problem, and if that's the case, I don't know if I buy the getting bigger bodies in there to help block. I'm not sure about that. Like, the kicker's got to get the ball. He's an unbelievable kicker. He's got a leg. Good gracious, he can boom that ball, and sometimes it feels like he's out kicking the coverage. He kicks it so long. But yesterday, I remember there was a punt, and I watched – in special teams, especially when you're covering kicks, you have got to have lane integrity. And all those guys – I forget which one it was because he had a couple of them. He ran I think it might have been the one back for the touchdown. But and maybe this is it. Just watch these guys. People on the radio is not going to see it, but lane integrity is huge. And when guys start running straight to the ball and they all get clumped up together, look at them. Well, I think it's the other one. It's not this one. It's the other one. But, yeah, that was the touchdown. It was the one that he had a long return on and he didn't score. But I can remember the long snapper going down there, and he had 2 guys outside of him, and they all make a beeline for the ball. Well, if you get close to each other and you're the outside contained guy, if he gets past you, then that gives him an opportunity to start using his talent and using his skills and jitterbugging through things and making something happen. And that's what happened. When it's kind of like you've got to have a cup, George, and you got to make sure that you're over his top pad, and then you can rush him, just like a soldier does when they rush into somebody. You squeeze from both sides, and then you got guys coming to him. So that didn't happen yesterday. And that's why those guys were able to. That's why he was making play after play, and it is inexcusable when you get to the National Football League because special teams is a third of the game, and if you're not very good in that, you're not going to win a lot of games. And those games that you lose the special teams battle, you're going to lose the game, and that's exactly what happened yesterday.
So in the early going where they were competitive, the hidden yards that they were basically giving away on special teams was really killing them in close games. So at some point, if you're Brian Callahan and you don't go in to fire this guy, aren't you at least saying, okay, then if we're this incapable, then let's do 2 things. Let's blast it through the end zone and just say start on the 30 and be done with it. And if we're this incapable, then let's punt the damn thing out of bounds. We're losing too many yards as it is. I mean, is that really that hard a concept?
That's what I told you yesterday when we were texting. If it's me and he's already had 2, he's had 1 long one and then he returns another one for a touchdown, I'm kicking the ball. I'm not going to kick it to him again. I'm going to kick it out of bounds. If we're that like you said, incapable of covering a kick that I'm kicking it out of bounds. I'm not going to allow him that opportunity. And it set those guys up like that. That was the easiest day ever for a quarterback. If you're a quarterback in the National Football League, and I don't remember ever having a day like that, but Jared Goff literally threw for 85 yards, George. He had 3 touchdowns. When you're starting on the opponent's side of the field all game long, you're not going to win that game. And special teams is a huge cog in that wheel. And when you're turning the ball over, giving them short fields, and when you're letting kicks be returned to your side of the field and for touchdowns, that's not a winning recipe.
So I'm not second guessing here when it comes to Colt Anderson. Those of you who listen to this show know that I said it after week 1. That if I were Callahan, I would have called him in and said, the next block punt, you can pack your bags. And the reason being that, look, they knew, this regime knew when they walked in, we got special teams problems. You had a punter near the end of the season last year who damn near got decapitated in a game against Indy, and we never saw him again. So it's not like they didn't know they had problems. And yet those problems surfaced from the minute the lights came on. And it has been nothing but trouble ever since, which is starting to force me to ask the question, why is Brian Callahan keeping Colt Anderson?
I don't know. He only knows that answer, man. I don't. They knew it was going to be tough. They obviously knew this year was going to be tough. They thought it could be better if they got some offensive line issues fixed, and maybe if they could do some things special teams wise to get it fixed. But right now they haven't, and I just don't like 1-6 right now. You just got to keep working. I know that sounds cliche-ish. I know that everybody don't want to hear that, but you can't watch the media. You got to deal with the media, but you can't watch the media because everybody's saying that you need to be fired. Will Levis don't need to play anymore. He needs to be gone. Like everybody's trying. It's so fixated on a quick fix. And sometimes I go back to what Nick Saban said on his first broadcast this year on game day. He was like, Kalen DeBoers and the Billy Napiers of the world. He was talking about Billy Napier. He's only been there for 3 years or 4 years. He said it takes time when a organization is down. It takes time, and in our instant society, everybody wants things done now. They want a quick fix now. And with free agency, sometimes you do get a quick fix, but sometimes it's not that way. You have to implement your system. Everybody's got to learn that system. And sometimes, George, I can remember a coach telling me when they come in, it literally takes 3 years of everybody. The first year, you're just trying to survive. The second year, guys are starting to pick it up. And by the third year, you're ready to go. It takes time, but in today's society and today's sports world, nobody gives you time to do that. And it's tough.
What is their system? I haven't got a clue. 1 week.
I know.
1 week, we're going to throw the ball 4 consecutive downs on 1st and goal from the 1. 2 weeks ago against Indy, we're going to run this Gerber's baby food crap. I don't know what their identity is, and you don't either.
No, they don't know. They're searching right now. The better you are, the more tendencies that you have. If you're really bad, this is what Tom Moore told me. If you're really bad, you don't have any tendencies at all because you're trying to figure out what works. And I'm like you. When they got on the goal line down there, you've still got one timeout. You've still got one timeout. So at least try to run the ball one time, and then you can throw it. Like if you throw the ball on 1st down, try to run the ball on 2nd down. If you don't get it, call a timeout, and then you got 2 more throws. We understand that. But they still had a timeout, which that was what was baffling to me because, George, when you get down in the red zone, you get that close to the end zone, it is very hard to throw a football. That's why Aaron Rodgers, that's why Lamar, they can buy time in the pocket because there's not a lot of times where balls were thrown on time when you're in the pass game. So it takes time down there, and the windows that you have to they're gone, and the defense can use the back end line as a defensive assistant right there, and
Right.
they can just get up on you, and it's just so hard to throw the ball. And with a quarterback like Mason Rudolph, it was like me. I couldn't move around like Aaron Rodgers and like Lamar Jackson, so I had to be on time with that stuff, and that's kind of how Mason Rudolph is. But for the life of me, I do not understand, with one timeout, why didn't they then try one run play? Because if you look at it, they signed Tony Pollard. He's one of the best players on the team. Give him an opportunity, because that dude is physical. He's not a big guy, but he's physical, and he runs hard. And I would have given him an opportunity, because it's much easier to run the ball down there than to pass the ball. That's why Troy Aikman and the Dallas Cowboys back in the day, he didn't have many touchdown passes on the season, because when they got inside the 10-yard line, they had such a good offensive line and good tight ends that they just handed the ball to Emmitt Smith and let Moose Johnson just open up holes for him, and that's why he didn't throw the ball much. They could play smash mouth football inside the 10-yard line, and they could win games that way. And it's hard down there to throw the ball.
Okay, I want to know if what I'm about to babble, in your opinion, is a true statement. Here's the statement. Right. Given that they had $90 million to spend in salary cap in the offseason, it shouldn't be this bad.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good analogy, George. You're right. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to say this, and you're not going to You are not going to agree with me, but it all starts at the quarterback position. I think they made some really good moves. I really do. I think the guys can play. Now, injuries, you can't foresee injuries. Now, there's some guys that came in that were injured that didn't get to play, but you get nothing out of preseason anymore, so you don't really know. And then you get into the season, and these guys are banged up. But the National Football League now has become – it's not the days of Jim Brown and Walter Payton and all those guys. It's now become a passing league, and if you do not have a quarterback, you're not going to win games. And right now, they're trying to figure out if Will Levis is the guy. He's been injured the last 2 weeks. Hopefully he can come back. And just like Terry and us talked about, if he comes back, he's got to get back on the field, because they got to evaluate him some more, and they've got to make a decision. Can this guy do it or not? Because we're going to get this O-line situation fixed. We've got guys now that can make – Calvin Ridley looked good the other day. Mason Rudolph was able to get him the ball. Tyler Boyd's there. They got tight ends that they like. They've got a running back. They've got Tyjae Spears when he comes back. So they've got pieces in place. They probably need to get one more really good wide out. I think the Westbrook-Akine guy, I think he's pretty good. He's not a bad player. I don't know if he's Calvin Ridley type, but he's not a bad player. But they got pieces in place to win games, but it all starts behind the center, and they just don't know yet what they have.
Okay. Did this team, because let's face it, the Bears game, we know why they lost it.
Yeah.
The Jets game, we know that it was a big contributor.
Yep.
Has that splintered this locker room to the point where they're giving up 52 and 34 points in consecutive road games? Not in that order.
I don't know if it's splintered the locker room yet. I'm like when y'all talked about Brian Callahan in his press conference, I still see guys giving effort. I really do. They have not give up. I still see guys putting forth the effort. I'm sure I would like to have known if they get in there and they watch film and what they're doing on the practice field. But if you're a professional athlete, you can't look at the record. You got to understand that, hey, I'm being evaluated. Even though I'm a starter, I'm being evaluated every time I go out there on that field. And if I come up for free agency, I'm trying to play the best I can, because I'm trying to get a good payday. And that's what those guys think about. When you start flaunting some money out there for them, that's what they think about. I don't think the locker room splintered, George. I really don't. But I think it is getting frustrating for them, because they just can't offensively, they're not good enough. It's amazing when you get to the professional level and teams expose your weaknesses really bad. And that's kind of what's happened to the Titans. They've exposed the right side of the offensive line. They've exposed their O-line altogether, but the right side especially. And what is like if Will Levis comes back, he's got to play better, and he's got to give them something that they can look to and say, this is our guy now. If we just fix what's going on, but I'm telling you right now, George, what is that? 5 out of the last 20 games that they've won. You getting into a loser's mentality right now where if things are going good, you're fine, you're in the game, and then something flips and something happens and the other team makes a play or two, and then you're like, oh, here we go again. That's a loser mentality, and that's what the Titans are right now. Back in the day that I talked about last week and the week before with Steve McNair and all those guys, they had a mentality of doesn't matter, we're going to win the game, don't care what happens. If we can get it to the fourth quarter, Steve McNair and those guys will win the game for us. They're not there now.
Okay, after the break, we're going to toss this out to both Billy and Kelly. What scenarios allow this to get better? Because remember, we got more than 2 months of this season left. It's an absolute Hindenburg. It's a ride on the Hindenburg right now. But can it get better to the point that you can see some light at the end of the tunnel come January? Stay tuned. This is 94.9 The Fan.
As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you need to contact Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you are a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. Check them out today at pancoastbenefits.com or call 615-292-3400.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Well, now I know where we are. We welcome all of you back on this Monday afternoon. We're talking the Titan ride on the Hindenburg. That is the way this season is going so far. And I kind of posed the question as we went to the break, what things need to happen, because there's still more than 2 months of the season, what things have to happen between now and the end of the season that would give a Titans fan some reason to say, okay, I can see a little bit of light at the end of this long, dark tunnel? Kelly, I want to start at quarterback, and I want to throw 2 options out there at you. Number one, let's assume for a minute, whether it's this week or not, Will Levis will be back soon. And when he does come back, there will have been an epiphany for him. There will be much more positive decision-making, much more, I'm not going to be the reason we don't get it done. No more of the crazy stuff we saw early in the season. That would be one scenario. Or, and I think this scenario is just as important, that everybody can raise their hand and go, who's kidding who? It ain't going to work. Because the mushy middle is the type of thing that leaves a franchise in purgatory, where he's just good enough to keep, but he's really not any good and nobody's got any confidence. It's got to be one or the other.
It does, and I don't think you can get it twisted either. I think everybody, including us, the fans, the organization, but I promise you this, his teammates want to know when he comes back, can he get it done? I mean, we saw Mason Rudolph the other day do something that Will Levis did in the first couple of games, and Mason Rudolph's played for a long time. Now, he hadn't played a bunch of football, but he did. The quarterbacks are they've got it so ingrained. I don't want to take a sack. I don't want to take a sack. Sometimes it's okay to take a sack. And it just gets ingrained into you to throw the ball like Mason Rudolph did, and it gets picked off. You can't do things like that. So I promise you this, George, the teammates are just as anxious as you are, as Titan fans are, as everybody that is Titan mania out there that's in other states. They want to see if Will Levis can come back and be the guy that they hope he can, or that the organization thinks he can. But then there's also that deal where you say he comes back and he's not. George, it's hard to take out something that is in somebody. Like if you go out there saying, I can't turn the ball over, I can't turn the ball over, then what do? It's human nature. You're going to turn the ball over. You can't worry about that. And if you do, your mind is not focused on the right stuff. You got to go out there and win games. You're going to have some mistakes, but they can't be game-changing mistakes like he made in the first 2 games. And you're always going to have interceptions. My college coach used to tell me this: there's 3 things that happen, son, when you throw the ball, and 2 of them ain't good. That's right, if you think about it. It's an incompletion or an interception. And he's just got to come back, and he's got to give his teammates something that they can go on to say, hey, let's just keep working. Let's get in there. Let's get in the film room with him. Let's help him. Let's bring him along with us. I hope that happens. But if it don't, you're right. You don't want it to be in the middle, because if it is in the middle, then that makes it a hard decision for the organization. And then that makes it hard for the fans to know, can he really do it or can he really do it? Because if they make a mistake this year, it puts your organization for years, as we've seen with the Titans, for years in a bad situation.
Billy Barry Trotz used to call it the mushy middle.
Yep. Brian Callahan has to find out what they do best and stick to it. What do the Titans do best right now?
Nothing.
Exactly.
I'm not sure they do anything good.
I mean, they've given up the fewest yards in the league per game.
Yeah,
I mean,
they gave up 86 points the last 2 games.
Right,
so
but still, the
how good is it?
The defense is, I still think, a talented defense. They've got pieces.
I do too. I'm with Billy.
They've got
I think
pieces.
They're talented, but when you get backed up like they did yesterday, no good.
No.
It's the least of their problems. They got a lot, and that's toward the bottom of the problem area.
But I go offensively. they can run the ball better than they have. But the thing is, Kelly, when you don't have an option really to throw the ball much down the field, you know teams load the box. But I thought early, I mean, we saw what Calvin Ridley did. He was on pace for a ridiculous game, but after some success, boom, he gets shut down. I mean, what did he do in the second half? Not much of anything. So I think you've got to find what they do best. What do they? I mean, I don't know if that's possible with this team, but find a running game, find some play action, like find something, and stick with it. Find an identity. I'm not saying it's easy, but I mean that's a start.
So it seems to me that a couple of things have to happen on that front. First of all, if Brian Callahan has not given serious thought to firing Colt Anderson, then he's a fool. Because what we saw yesterday is the continuation of amateur hour. It doesn't look like any other NFL team in the league, and why we're putting up with this is beyond me. Kelly, I would hope that when they got home that he had a real heart-to-heart with Colt Anderson where he said to him, this is unacceptable, and if anything ever looks like this again, friendship or not, you got to go.
Well, I'm like you, George, though. If you're having that trouble, kick it out of the end zone. Make them start at the 25-yard line. Let's do that. And if you're punting the ball and you do not feel good about your kick coverage team, kick it out of bounds. Don't let them have an opportunity to get like that guy yesterday. And he was a former Titan. Am I not correct about that? Was he a former
Khalif
Titan?
Raymond? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So, like, you know what he can do. You've been around him. The guy can make some plays. He's fast. He's quick. Like if he returns, he almost returned the first one. Then the other one he did return. I'm not kicking it to him again. I'm kicking it out of bounds. I'm not going to do that. So be smart about it. If you're struggling with that and you don't think you can cover the kicks, kick it out of bounds. Kick it into the end zone. Make him start at some point, but don't let him have an opportunity to return the ball.
We talked a lot about Brian Callahan not trusting Will Levis. After watching the last couple of games, it almost looks like the Titan players don't trust Brian Callahan. And you know, you can watch a team, I feel like, and see some of that. You saw it with D-Hop, like you mentioned just last week, Kelly. And there's just little things here or there where this team does not seem all into it.
The heat is on him. They put a camera.
Huge.
Did y'all see that when they put that camera on him and he was looking up at the scoreboard? And I can only imagine what's going on in his mind. He was like, "We cannot be this bad, and what have I gotten myself into?" Because they are, and the heat is on right now, man. It's not fun when you're a coach in the National Football League. You're 1-6 and you have no answers. That's not a good place to be.
But I think Billy's on to one really important thing here, and that is he came in saying, you know, the team said, okay, we're going to modernize this offense.
Yeah.
But he apparently was so worried about wins and losses that for the Indy game, he totally scrapped what it is they've been yapping about modernizing their offense, and we went back to Gerber's baby food. And it just seems to me, I'm kind of with Billy, that he's got to get in a room by himself.
He's got to get them straight.
Yeah, and say, this is my way or highway.
You've got to be able.
Go ahead, Billy.
I was going to say, you've got to be able, I've heard it and at the high school level, at the college level, and you've said this before, Kelly, as a head coach, if you can't sit there and give it to your team straight, I mean, they're going to quit on you. You know, they're not going to trust you.
Hey, professional sports is tough, man. And when you're losing like this, it's hard to get guys up every week, and you're absolutely right. And I've told you all this, and I'm going to tell you again for the 100th time. Players always know. That locker room always knows. And if you're phony and you don't know what you're doing, I promise you, they lose trust, they lose respect really quick for you. If you're saying stuff and then you're going out and you're doing something else, or you're saying you know what's happening and you truly don't, players always know, man.
Yeah, well, with some older guys, I know we got to go to the break. That can be tough, too. It reminds me, a couple weeks ago on Monday night, the pregame, they had showed a pregame speech on the field, and Jason Kelsey said, Man, after that, because he was asked, so how do you feel after those? And Kelsey was like, well, I mean, I got older. I just want to just get me to the locker room, and I just want to play the game. Just get me in there. Like, you don't care about any of the extra jazz stuff. And I don't think the Titans need that. I think they just need some confidence somewhere.
That's what when I played in an organization, we used to have meeting after meeting after meeting, and we would all look at each other and say, can we just have the game plan and go out to practice and go to the weight room and do what we're supposed to do and win games? Do we have to have all these meetings? Because at some point that stuff gets monotonous and we're tired of talking. Let's go do it.
Okay. Hour number 1 is about done. By the way, we got to 4-1 last week in Stat of the Day.
Nice.
Yes.
George, you won Friday, huh?
Here's what I did, Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll try to get this week started correctly, and then we'll get into college football. Stay with us on 94.9 The Fan. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company. To make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
I think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to win the NBA championship, and Dame Lillard's going to be the MVP of the NBA.
Whoa! Go on.
So I think they're going to have the year this year that everyone thought they were going to have last year.
Okay.
I think they're going to be really good this year, and I think Dame could be sneaky MVP candidate. I know most people think he's done. I don't.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday morning starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2. Chris Carlin, Joe Fortenbaugh. This is Carlin versus Joe.
Stephen A. Smith, you've been exceptionally generous with your time and your knowledge of people that you work with. If Joe Fortenbaugh comes to you and says, Stephen A., who's your tailor? Are you sharing that information?
No, I'd help him. I got love for Joe. And Joe's a good-looking guy. Some of his suits look a little cheap, but I think that's intentional.
Carlin versus Joe. Weekdays at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN app, and on SiriusXM Channel 80.
This is Dale from Columbus, previously from the Paul Feinbaum Show.
Don't you agree, Paul? I can say whatever the hell I want to. I worked my ass off today. I might have made $120. Don't you agree? I can say whatever the hell I want to about somebody that makes $10 million a year. Would you agree with that, brother?
The Paul Feinbaum Show, weekdays at 3 Eastern on the ESPN app and on the SEC Network.
This is Freddie and Harry.
I played with Derrick Henry when he got drafted to the Tennessee Titans. That was my workout partner in the weight room. Nobody in the history of Noam has ever got me to quit anything in the weight room besides Derrick damn Henry. I told him one day, I said, man, listen, man, D-Hen, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm not a machine like you. I have no more left.
Check out more from Freddie and Harry weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.
At Electronic Express, we know game day is more than just football. It's about gathering with friends and enjoying the comfort of home. Whether you need a new TV, efficient appliances to keep your kitchen game ready, or a powerful computer, we've got it all. Enjoy a great selection, amazing service, and guaranteed lowest prices. With up to 24 months interest-free financing, right in your neighborhood. Trust Electronic Express to make your game day unforgettable.
Your sports live here. WBUZ HD3 Laverne. All around the world on the Game Nashville app. We are the Game Nashville Sports Network. ESPN 94.9. The Fan.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Coming up, we're recapping another weekend of college football, but first, stat of the day and a new sponsor, Apple Collision Centers. 3 locations. Our buddy Stan Harrison, still doing great stuff. You can find him at Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. Of course, you've seen the commercials. Big Alabama fan.
Yes, he is. And it says exactly what you think it says, collision. If you end up getting in one, you need to call them. They do good work.
Yeah, they've got the numbers there at the bottom of the screen for each location. They've got their website, applecollisioncenters.com as well. So go hit them up. They are now presenting Stat of the Day, and here it is. We're going NFL. Jaden Daniels threw a game-winning Hail Mary pass for the Commanders last night. Which team had the last game-winning Hail Mary? And extra points if you can say who caught it.
Oh, gosh.
Game winning, huh?
Game winning. Hold on. Go back to the question. Which team had the last game winning Hail Mary? It might be Aaron Rodgers when he was in Green Bay against the Lions. Then again, it might not be. Since you gave it away.
Yeah.
And now
now it's up to Kelly.
And now I can tell you the circumstances. It was against the Buffalo Bills, and Kyler Murray threw one up for grabs, and a prayer was answered.
You could have let Kelly get it.
Oh, no.
Nice. DeAndre Hopkins. Nice.
Would you have guessed that?
Do we
Kelly?
get no.
That's a null and void.
No.
Stat of the day answer.
Well, you've got to that's pilot
That
error.
was poor execution on my part. I'll take the blame.
No,
Kelly, your
I
reaction to that?
No, yes. Well, for one, Billy needs to be charged $100 for screwing up. That's just one of many. And secondly, is we get that because if you mess up, I mean, if you steal the signal, it's your fault for showing the signal to me. So,
Okay.
We get it. We get it. We're 1-0.
I'll respect that. 1-0 for the week.
That's right. And talking about the collision center, George needs to go ahead and get a new paint job because his car has not been in a wreck, but it looks like it's been in a straight collision if you see it. So he needs to get Apple Collision to repaint his car.
It's a good thought. Kelly, thank you for your constructive criticism.
Yes.
It's very enlightening.
Okay. So we're now officially into the 4 o'clock hour, and we welcome all of you to the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. George Plaster, the cynical Kelly Holcomb.
Cantankerous.
That's a good way of saying it. Snarky would be another.
Doesn't matter.
And Billy Derrick, who someday will probably be just like us. Guys, we ready to get into some college football?
Finally.
Let's do it.
Okay. So quietly sitting back on our radar for a while now has been Texas A&M. Yeah, they were undefeated, but yes, nobody was really buying them until Saturday in the second half when Nashvillian Marcel Reed, whose father is the former Tennessee State football coach, Rod Reed, once he took LSU behind the woodshed, then we had no choice. We are forced to pay serious attention to A&M. Any thoughts?
They're undefeated in the SEC, correct? And this helps Billy's team because Billy's team beat them down in Texas A&M the beginning of the year. So they're undefeated in the SEC, but, man, they look good. You're absolutely right. And I've just never thought Connor Wegman was the guy, and he's okay. I mean, he's okay, but when Marcel Reed came in and played for him when he was injured, he looked really good. And then the other day, he's kind of the spark that ignited that whole thing, because I tell you what Texas A&M can do, which carries anywhere, is they can run the football. They can smash it down your throat. And now when you got Marcel Reed in there, he can do the same thing with that read option stuff and that zone read stuff that he was doing the other night. And he pulled that ball, had a couple of touchdowns. He looked really good. Not a very big guy. He's tall and lean, but, man, he's quick. And he had that one nice throw. But if he can stay in there, I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I guess they got two quarterbacks, and you can still keep going to Connor Wegman because maybe the guys feel comfortable with him. But if things go downhill, you know that you can put Reed in, and he's kind of a jump start for the offense.
I don't know why they ever went away from Marcel Reed. I thought he played better. I thought he played better than Wegman when Wegman was hurt. And I understand Elko going back to Wegman because he's a veteran, wanted to give him another shot, but you cannot go away from Marcel Reed at this point. You just beat a top 10 team at home.
Yeah.
Your defense is rolling. That read option game was beautiful with one of the better running backs in the country as well. And his throw, that long ball, was beautiful.
Yeah,
I mean, if you can make him make enough throws in those games, if you're Colin Klein, and he reminds me a little bit of Colin Klein. Klein was a bigger quarterback at K-State, but Connor Wegman is not the prototype of what they should be doing right now. That's a physical defensive team that wants to run the football. What they were doing with Wegman, now they won. They still won with Wegman, but Marcel Reed takes them, I think, to another dangerously good level. Now he's young, and I might regret this. Maybe he goes and plays at Williams-Brice Stadium and throws a couple of picks and gets frustrated, but that's something tough to stop, like you said, Kelly, when you've got that running game going, and then boom, you hit him with a play action. That's a really dangerous A&M team, and I think it's because of Marcel Reed.
So here's what's tough about the SEC, which, as all of you know, it just means more.
It means more.
No question. But here's what's hard about it. So you've just had this emotional win that has got you at the mountaintop.
Yep.
And suddenly, 6 days later, it's probably a lot easier to do on the pro level than it is with college kids. But you have got to get off that mountaintop, ignore all these students telling you how great you are, and go to South Carolina for what is obviously a trap game.
At night.
Can they do it?
I think they can, but I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina plays really well and makes it a one-possession game late. I think if A&M beats South Carolina, that'll show you that they are a legit playoff team. And some people might already say they are, but it, like you said, it's week in, week out. You got to go do it. You know, it's like the Vandy thing. Well, go do it in Lexington. That was their probably toughest win of the season. We'll see. We'll see about A&M big time next Saturday night.
What they do travels, though, guys. Like, they play really good defense. Like, Mike Elko is known for his defense. He's a defensive coordinator.
I love Mike Elko.
They play really good defense. They're not scared to mix it up, bring people. They're going to put pressure on the quarterback. They're going to hit him. Plus, if they put Marcel Reed in there with the Moss kid, they can run. They can play smash mouth football, and they don't have to throw it much. Just throw it a little bit if you get in the third and long, or maybe mix things up and get him out on the edge and throw a couple of boots. But like, when you can run the ball like they can run the ball and play defense, golly, that's a mixture for success, and that's what they're doing in College Station, that's for sure.
Okay, so today when we released the poll, or at least my poll, I didn't feel like I had any choice but to put A&M in the 2-hole behind Oregon.
Because you're looking at it right now.
Now. As of this moment, they are the only undefeated team in the Southeastern Conference. Do I think A&M can beat Georgia? Absolutely not. No. Heck no. Not no, but hell no. Am I wrong?
You might be. You can't. I don't think you can make any. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I don't think you can make any definitive statements like that in the SEC this year.
Well, okay, let me try it a little more definitively. So let's say, and look, what this is setting up is a Thanksgiving weekend showdown between A&M and these guys.
Yep.
Hook 'em horns. They hate each other.
Where's that game?
A&M.
College Station.
A&M.
Oh, it is?
God, it
Ooh.
will be awesome.
For the first time since
yes.
2011.
But then a week later, as things are going right now, they would then have to play Georgia, neutral site, at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. Neutral my butt.
There's nothing neutral
No.
about that.
I mean, do we really think A&M's getting through all this?
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a bunch, man. And just think about this game this coming up weekend. Isn't it Alabama LSU?
November 9th.
That's next
Oh, it's
weekend.
night. Okay, that's
Yeah.
next weekend.
They
So
both have.
Just think about that. Yeah, just think about. They've got to obviously win this coming up week, but I don't know. Is somebody off? Is Alabama off this week?
I think they're both off this week.
Are they?
I thought I
think
heard
so,
that
too.
somewhere. Yeah.
I know Alabama. I can remember looking at their schedule and knowing that they were off before.
By the way,
Tennessee and off.
what are if they are both off? I'm checking right now. What are the odds that before probably the two biggest games of the season, both teams have bye weeks? Bama and Georgia were both off.
Smart scheduling.
Yeah.
SEC did some weird scheduling stuff this year.
Well, it's important that teams, and for this matter, conferences, use their bye weeks in the best possible way they can.
Yep.
You don't need a bye week before you play tired old UL Monroe. But you do need one if you're thinking Texas Longhorns and then Georgia Bulldogs. So
they do both have byes. Yep.
So this A&M part, this is kind of a new deal. They've been laying in the weeds for a while, and now all of a sudden at this moment they are the top dog in the SEC, which blows my mind. Do I think they're going to stay there? Not really.
Yeah, this South Carolina is probably their next real test up until Texas at home. So if they can, I don't know, if they're 10-2 going to the SEC championship, how do you feel about them? That'll be the big question.
That they're going to be 10-3.
But how do you look at that SEC championship? Because
we
talked about a 9-3 team from the SEC potentially getting in.
Right.
Could that be a 10-3 A&M at that
If
point?
it includes wins over LSU and Texas, we might have something.
Right.
So, okay, let me toss this out at both of you. Just give me a yes or a no. Is a 3-loss SEC team getting in this year?
No.
Yeah, I think what you've seen is you're probably going to get 2 from the ACC. You know, your Big 12 might get 2 in. We never know with how good BYU is, and that's a better top of the league than I think we thought. Army's still alive. I mean, there's probably upwards of 20 teams still fighting. I think it's a better standing across the country than we expected. So, yeah, I say no too.
I think it's the most fun college football season in time, and a lot of it is because we're deep into November. Well, we're deep into October, and we can see all of these games of the year that still haven't been played. It's terrific.
Yeah.
George and Billy, is this? I've asked y'all this before, and I'm going to ask you again. Is it parity in the SEC? Has Alabama and Georgia's still up there, but has Alabama come down with the rest of the pack? What do y'all? Is the SEC down? Is the SEC just so tough they're beating up on each other?
Well, at least this year, those who take Vanderbilt lightly get burned. Alabama took them lightly and got burned, and they never dreamed they would lose to Vandy. Okay? Arkansas, hard to figure what Arkansas is, but they were good enough on that particular night to beat Tennessee and Fayetteville. And the third one is that Kentucky could go to Ole Miss and beat the Rebels. And so what you've had in this league this year are 3 upsets that have got people scratching their head a little bit. And at least this year, you don't have the ability to not be ready for anybody. You used to be able to sleepwalk into Vandy.
Yeah.
Well, Texas found out Saturday they felt fortunate to get out of there alive.
Yeah.
How about the Auburn-Kentucky game? Auburn beats Kentucky at Kentucky.
Kentucky's in big trouble.
Kentucky is in big trouble.
But I was going to say, Kelly, the talent is dispersed. Watching Vandy in Texas and being there, I didn't think Texas was the better team. Sorry about that. We're back.
All right, no problem.
I was going to say, Kelly, and we got George back here, Texas is obviously deeper and more talented than Vanderbilt, but I didn't see just a dramatic difference. Now, Vanderbilt's better coach this year, and maybe that's the difference. They're better coach. They're in better spots. But you saw it a little bit in Mississippi State, Georgia, where they lost by 10. And kids, if there's money in playing time, kids are going to want to go play at that school. And if it's close to their hometown, I just think the talent is more dispersed, and that a team like a Vandy can hang with Texas and maybe even beat Alabama on a good day. But I think NIL
is more messed up trying to figure this stuff out. It is more messed up, Kelly, than I have seen it in a long time. I mean, you think about what's on that screen right there. Texas beats Vanderbilt 27-24. I would claim a year ago it would have been 52-3.
No.
Probably would have.
I mean,
and I said at the beginning of the year, I thought that this transfer portal would help Vandy, but we didn't know. We weren't for sure. And now we think they're going to start getting NIL money. It's going to start like if you can go to Vanderbilt, you can be an SEC player and you can go to a team like that because you're not playing at, say, like Alabama, or you're not playing at Florida, or you can come to Vanderbilt and show what you got. Plus, you're playing in the SEC. So I think it's huge for some of these lower tiered schools now to kind of rebuild. It's like the National Football League, free agency. That's what happened to the St. Louis Rams when Trent Green went down. Kurt Warner, they got everybody around him. They went to a high level very quick.
The best college football game this past weekend was what?
You gonna say Boise State, UNLV?
You're darn tootin' I am. I stayed up till like 1 o'clock in the morning.
I tried. I could not.
To see the end of it. First of all, UNLV, it's the first time since they have moved into the Raiders Stadium that they have opened the second deck. They had a UNLV record attendance of over 42,000 for that game. Think about it. UNLV is Vegas is way more of a pro sports town.
Yep.
Anyway, the only reason Boise State won that game is this kid Ashton Genty. And if you haven't seen him play, he runs hard. And I'll tell you this, he may well be your Heisman Trophy winner.
That's crazy. He could be. He's really good. The quarterback made some throws, too, in that game, too.
He did.
You got to give it to UNLV. I mean, UNLV took the lead late, and then they had to come back and win the thing. That was a exciting ball game, absolutely.
So you're going to see it after the break. Boise is now a clear number 12 in the playoff, the group of 5. And I now think Boise may be in a position where they can lose a game and still be group of 5.
Yeah.
Navy got just absolutely boat raced by Notre Dame, which does not feel real good for Army when they play them.
No.
Don't get too cocky.
Hey, Notre Dame's legit right now.
They might be. So should we go to the break? And then, I mean, the whole city is eagerly anticipating
the
plaster poll.
This. Yes, absolutely.
Are you
plaster
really?
poll.
Okay, fine. Fine. This enthusiasm, it's warranted. Stay tuned. We'll put this crap out there when we come back. This is 94.9 The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you need to contact Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you are a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. Check them out today at pancoastbenefits.com or call 615-292-3400.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Here on 94.9 The Fan and the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Okay, it's time now to unveil my, how are we going to call it? My projected playoff bracket. If the season were over, if the season ended this morning, that's the only way you can do it right now. So don't get all hepped up on the top four, which I have right now as Oregon, Texas A&M, Miami, and Iowa State in that order. So, Kelly, let me start with you. I believe that at least two of the four that I have in there right now will not be there at the end. What do you think?
I agree. Could be 3 or 4, though. I don't know. I mean, I think that I'm not sure. Of course, Texas A&M, I know why you had to put them there because they haven't been beaten in the SEC. I think Georgia's still there. But you look at Miami, I don't think they get past Clemson the way Clemson's playing right now. And then Iowa State, I think, doesn't BYU beat Iowa State? So I don't know. It's just funny how, like, nobody even thought about Texas A&M. This is the first time that Texas A&M has even been in the poll. Is that not correct, George?
Say that again.
I said, I'm not sure Texas A&M has even been in your top 12.
No.
And now, Yeah, I
No.
mean, it's just amazing I think that's what the excitement of this college football deal is and this playoff deal, because everybody wants to look at these playoff brackets. But I think for me, and you've talked about it too, the most coveted spot in the whole deal is number 5.
Well, it's
You're
the
trying to get to
easiest.
number
Yeah.
5. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. If you can't be in the top 4, if you can't
You
be
wanna be
with the
fifth.
one you want the one you're with. Wasn't that a song? So right now, Oregon, A&M, Miami, and Iowa State are your top 4 that get an opening round bye, because at this moment they are your conference leaders or conference champion, or however you want to say it at the moment. So here's what I think we do know. I think you can pencil in Boise State at number 12. For the moment, I put Georgia as the best of the teams that don't have the first round bye. Do you all buy that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. In the 6 hole, I put undefeated Penn State against number 11 BYU. First of all, do you all buy that Penn State should be in the 6 hole?
Right now, what's going to happen this next week when they
Yeah.
don't beat Ohio State?
Yeah, this will move next week. So
Yes, I think so.
Okay, let me try this one. Is the loser of Penn State, Ohio State booted out in favor of a Notre Dame or an Indiana?
I think if it's Penn State, they're gone. If it's Ohio State, they'll probably still be in.
Why, though? Because Penn State will have one loss. Ohio State
I think it's the other way around, Kelly.
Do you really?
Yeah, because like George said, you get to a second loss, especially with a few games to go and a potential conference championship game. I guess Ohio State would be.
All about that. You know what? I forgot about that. I forgot they got beat by Oregon. You're right. If
Yeah.
Penn State, if they lose, they're out of it for sure.
So I knocked Texas below Penn State and Ohio State. Couldn't beat Georgia at home. Didn't exactly blow me away with their 3-point win at Vandy. So I dropped them down to number 8 and a Texas-Tennessee game for the right to say who wears orange the most proud.
God, I hope that happens. I think Texas has some issues offensively. They showed it against Georgia. Obviously, Georgia has a really good defense. But Vanderbilt, for them to struggle like the way they did, Ewers threw a couple of interceptions. He was sacked 4 times. They've got some things to clean up. So I don't disagree with them at number 8 at all.
So let me try this one on both of you. There's a part of me right now, and some of the people that saw the poll that I put out really jumped all over this, that Notre Dame and Indiana should be in right now. I don't know who you take out, because your first 4, Oregon, A&M, Miami, and Iowa State, have at least 2 teams in it that nobody thinks really are the top 4 in the country.
Yeah, I mean, BYU, I guess that would be a team that I could see. Yeah, I could see pulling out. I'm trying to look at their strength of schedule. I don't think it's particularly great, but neither is Indiana's, I don't think. And Notre Dame's has gotten better. I would say Notre Dame should be in over BYU right now.
If Notre Dame wins out, they're going to be in.
Right.
I think we all probably believe that. And I'll take it a step farther. If Indiana were to go unbeaten, they're in, because it'll mean they have gotten a win at Ohio State in Columbus. But can a 1-loss Indiana get in?
Absolutely.
I think some of it depends on how they play at Ohio State. If they get ripped around pretty good, I'm not totally certain.
So, Billy, a couple questions, man. Ohio State. If Ohio State beats Penn State, is Penn State out?
No.
You don't think
Hold
so?
on. Hold on. Say that again.
If Ohio State beats Penn State, do you think Penn State's out of the top 12?
I think they go toward the bottom of it.
Okay.
I don't think they get totally removed.
Okay. Another thing, too, another question is, with all this conference stuff, the SEC did away with the East and West. Have they still got the East and West in the Big Ten?
No.
They don't. So it could be another rematch between if Ohio State wins out and Oregon keeps winning, it could be a rematch in the Big Ten championship game with Oregon Ohio State. Is that correct?
Yes.
In Indianapolis, which they will discover is not neutral.
That's right. And have all these the ACC still got their championship game? What about the Big 12? Same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And
All
right now, at least right now, the Big 12 would be BYU and Iowa State.
Correct.
Because BYU has a tiebreaker over Kansas State.
I think what a lot of this is going to come down to with the Mountain West and I say Mountain West, that's really just Boise State
yes.
and UNLV. So those
Billy, until we're given a reason, Boise State's in. Boise State went to UNLV and won.
Right.
I'm not even convinced that UNLV winning in the Mountain West title game moves them ahead of Boise.
Right, but say Boise drops one more.
To who? Hillwood?
I'm trying to look at that. I mean, you never know. They've got San Diego State at home, Nevada, San Jose State. I mean, who have they? That's the other part of it. If they drop one,
yeah.
I think they're on an icy road.
Okay, if they lose one of those.
Yeah.
If they lose to UNLV in the Mountain West title game, I don't think so.
I would agree there. But what I was getting at is,
that's where that's where an Army who has upset Notre Dame could get in the 12 hole. Highly unlikely.
Yeah. But what it's going to come down to is if you have a 9-3 SEC or Big Ten team, there's going to be a mid-major or a group of four, whatever it's called now, that thinks they have a case. There's also going to be a couple of 9-3 SEC Big Ten teams that think they have a case. Those are going to be the big battles, I think.
Yeah. What if? Okay, the Big 12 championship. What if it's BYU Iowa State, and they both go in and they hadn't lost? The loser is the loser out of the top 12.
Well, a lot of this is splitting hairs. This is what's going to be so tough for the committee.
Correct. SMU is an ACC team too that could be floating around there. Yeah. They're 7-1 right now. They beat Duke.
How'd that going for 2 work for you?
I thought it was a good idea, actually.
Uh-huh.
And that was an awful play. I don't know what
you dearly.
I know. I don't know what play they ran there. That looked awful.
So let's go back on the original question, because to me, one of the things the committee is going to have a very difficult time with is determining what kind of loss that you had. For instance, nobody's going to talk about Navy anymore because Notre Dame ran them out of the building. What was it, 52-14?
That was awful.
So Army still has to play Notre Dame, and at the moment that doesn't feel real good for Army, which would blow out the whole Army-Navy thought that's been out there.
Yep.
So then it's Boise and UNLV. Are you throwing anybody else into consideration, group of 5?
Tulane, they're 6-2 right now.
Yeah, but I don't think do you think a 2-loss power group of 5 team can get in? No.
I don't think so.
Memphis is 7-1.
Yeah.
With a loss to Florida State, though, right? Or did they beat Florida State?
They beat Florida State.
Okay, who's Memphis? I'm trying to figure out who Memphis has lost.
So, anyway.
Oh, it's Navy.
I think what I'm getting at is the committee is going to have their hands full. And one of the things that I think is going to take place in the next couple of years is that this whole conference winner automatically gets one of the top 4. I think they're going to blow that out.
Yeah.
Because I think some of the big blue bloods, the Ohio States and the Penn States and Texas and Georgia, are all going to yell, wait a minute. You gave them a first-round bye, and then in the second week, we beat them 63-7.
Right.
Kelly, that's the scenario where that rule is going to change.
Yeah, and they don't want that, because that's probably going to happen to, like, I don't know about Miami. That could probably happen to Ohio, or Iowa State. I mean, they get if they have to go up against Ohio State or Georgia or somebody, they're going to get blown out of the water, in my opinion.
I think a team to keep an eye on, and you can call me crazy for this, is Colorado. Colorado beat Cincinnati. They're 6-2. A 10-win season is in play for them. If you look at it, they've gotten away with some of their bigger opponents. They're at Texas Tech this week. They've got Utah at home, which is not a very good team right now. They're at Kansas, not a very good team. They host Oklahoma State, not a very good team. And then they finish with that.
So how do you get past an undefeated BYU and at the moment an undefeated Iowa State? Because that's what you're asking to have happen.
Well, it'll be interesting because Boise State's in. I'm kind of with you on that. But if there's another undefeated.
Yeah, but Boise doesn't have anything to do with your Colorado argument.
What are the teams you just...
So what are the schedules for Iowa State and BYU? What do they both look like? Because I'm with you. Like, I think that's great ratings if you get a Shedeur Sanders along with primetime in the deal, and you can get them into the, if they make it to the conference championship. But BYU and Iowa State has to just fall off dramatically in the last month and a half of the season.
They've got to fall off a cliff.
Iowa State doesn't really play anybody. They host Texas Tech.
Read us their stuff.
Texas Tech at home.
Keep going.
At Kansas.
Okay.
Cincinnati at home. At Utah. And then K-State at home.
See, that Utah thing is what's got everybody, is that Utah now can't walk and chew gum.
Yeah.
No.
Offensively, they are a disaster.
What about BYU, Billy?
BYU is at Utah in a couple weeks.
By the way, when those two play, there will be some fights.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a holy war.
The Mormons.
War, yeah. The holy war.
Kansas at home. At Arizona State, who sucks. And then Houston at home, who also sucks. BYU's in good shape.
So it feels like Kansas State is the only team out there that could give Iowa State any reason to worry.
And all of a sudden, the Big 12, we're looking at 5 teams that are going to end up grappling for a couple of spots, I think. And maybe just one spot.
Maybe.
Because K-State, you can't forget about K-State either. I think the Big 12 is the most interesting conference right now.
Unlike the basketball where they get 3 or 4 days to really figure it out, Conference Championship Day is Saturday, December 7th?
Something like that, yep.
So they have to decide all of that by the next morning. I think
what'll happen, it's not going to matter. Conference champions probably won't mean it. Like basketball, Auburn won the SEC tournament this past season. They didn't move a single seed line.
Right, but what I'm saying is, okay, depending on who your automatic qualifiers are, then you've got to scramble 5 through 11. And that's where you're going to split hairs.
Man, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we thought that 4 was tough with them getting 4. Now 12, it's just going to be as tough, if not tougher.
And those two sitting at the bottom of the graphic, Notre Dame and Indiana, I think will both be in the next week.
Yeah, you may be right. I don't know.
On Tennessee, they can't lose. They can't lose 3. right? They lose 3, they're eliminated. Would you all agree?
Yeah.
That Vandy game at the end of the season
It's going to be huge for them.
is going to be a playoff eliminator for Tennessee, potentially. Because they're not beating Georgia. Or if they do, who knows? I think Tennessee could beat Georgia, but, I mean, that's in Athens.
Right now, we don't have Alabama or LSU in the picture.
I'm not feeling
that's
great
a
about
bit
it.
of a surprise.
I'm not feeling great about LSU because I think Alabama figured some things out. And I think that USC loss is what is going to be kicking LSU. I know they've got Alabama at home, but Alabama looked a lot better. So
let's go to the break, and then here's what we'll do. After the break, we'll take a few playoff texts. We'll also, hey, you heard me absolutely go off on the Titans. If you think I have gone too far with it, say it. If you think I'm right on, say it. Want to hear from you. Our phone number is 615-553-0933. Again, 615-553-0933. Billy, how can they get a text into you?
Well, we've already got some comments in our YouTube chat room about the Titans. We've got a couple about college football SEC. You can do that on YouTube. As I just said, the chat room just to the right of the screen. You can do the same thing on Twitter. Just scroll up on the stream, type your question in, and then on Facebook as well. I'll check them out and bring them over.
Okay. We'll either take phone calls, texts, or all of the above when we come back on 94.9 The Fan.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, you need to call Bart Durham. And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donley Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donley have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Okay, it's going to be a little bit of a lightning round between some texts and phone calls. Billy, go.
All right, we had some early Titans comments here. The Titans are now worse run from top to bottom than the New York Titans were. That's a team that existed?
The New York Titans, absolutely. That's what they were before they were JETS.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Harry Wismer was their owner.
Interesting. Except the players don't have to speed to the bank to cash their checks before the money runs out.
He's got a point.
He also says, I wonder how many people would trade the Titans for the White Sox with the dome under construction becoming a baseball park. I would.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's
wow.
pretty brutal. Titans fans, time to break out the bags. I don't know what that is.
Well, it's the Saints. Don't you remember when the
the paper
Saints
bags
were the Aints and they
Oh,
had
okay.
the paper bags?
How bad were the Saints that
They
year?
were the Aints.
Brent answering a question, why haven't the Titans fired Colt Anderson yet? Because they are the Titans. This is exactly what they do. Brent also says, I fear the quarterback will push even more and be more risky with the ball. That's something I wanted to bring up earlier.
Good.
You know, whether it's Rudolph or Levis, every game there's a little bit more pressure on them to perform.
Oh, I don't think there is in Rudolph. Rudolph is now a career backup, and whether it's here or somewhere else, he's going to find work. The question becomes, is Will Levis going to be an NFL starting quarterback, or is he going to be Kenny Pickett?
I lean Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. Hadn't thought of that one, had you?
No.
You brought it up before, though. We got another one from Brent. Do you like 2 off weeks? I think he's referring to college football. How many teams have weeks off before games? UGA and Florida just had one. That's another big game with both teams having off weeks the week before. I think the SEC did that for a reason.
Sunbelt Billy better strap it on if he's going to beat Georgia.
But, hey, he's got them playing better.
He does.
I respect him a lot. I've never disliked Billy Napier, but I don't think he's lasting this season no matter what happens.
Okay, first phone call is Tony in Nolensville. Tony, welcome into 94.9 The Fan.
Hello, George, and hello, guys. And I'll be quick. I know you've got a lot to cover. 2 things I want to try to touch on. Number one is on this, what these playoffs look like now. Guys, there's still so much more ball to play, and it is when we were all talking about this back 6, 7, 8 months ago, and Kelly, you touched on it a little bit. You know, we were all talking about who'd get in, how they get in, and all. Now, I think you're going to have more teams in there with 2 losses than we anticipated beforehand. I think you might just have 2 or 3 teams that, at the most, that might be undefeated completely, you know. And as far as getting 4 in, we were talking about that back when they set this standards, whether that is going to be the 12-team playoff. All the talk was SEC get 4. I think now with all these other conferences, the way they're playing out now, I think it's going to be lucky for some conferences to get 3. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And now a couple of questions. I'm going to be quick. Kelly, for you, I don't know if you saw the Vanderbilt game against Texas, but there were 2 calls in the first half I thought were pivotal calls in the first half.
Yep.
And Billy, I know that you were there. George, you were too, probably.
Yeah.
There was what I call a decoy play that Vanderbilt lined up, 4th and 1, act like they came here, the play coming in, turned to the sidelines, and they maneuvered their play, got the first down, and the referees, I think, were caught off guard by it so bad. And even though a lot of times on plays like this, the teams or coaches will go before the game and say, hey, we're going to run something, be ready for it. We're going to run something a little different at this crucial time. I still think the referees were caught off guard by it by calling a illegal procedure on a guy that didn't have his shoulders parallel to the line of scrimmage. Hogwash. I mean, just I thought that. And then on a punt that Texas downed at the 1, the guy's momentum takes him into the end zone. He throws the ball back in the field of play. It rolled back into the end zone, and they put the ball down at 1. To me, that should have been a touchback, and I don't know if you can explain some of that. I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to let you talk about it. Thanks, George.
Hey, thank you.
I think those are good points, Tony, and I told this to you, George, in the middle of the game. How do they call that? His momentum, he went into the end zone. That should not have been down at the 1-yard line, but it was. But before that, that trick play, Kelly, in the Kentucky game, I don't know if you saw, they put Eli Stowers under center. Everybody thought, it was a fake to figure out what was going on the sideline. Then Stowers sneaks it. They ran a play off of that. Stowers took the snap, handed it to a receiver on the reverse, and they got 15 yards for the first down. Big momentum play on a 4th and 1 at their own 35, I think it was. But a receiver on the opposite side, not even in the camera view, that was the call. They said his shoulders weren't square to the sideline. He was looking over the sideline, looking what was going on. So by rule, that's a legal procedure, but that is rarely ever called. So in that moment to call that, thought it was bad. Clark, after the game, he said, I hate it when refs get in the way of the game.
They do. And just like Tony said, though, at some point you got to tell those guys, if you got a special player, if you got a special formation, you need to tell them when you have a meeting before the game, say, hey, be ready for this. We may run this. I don't know when we're going to run it, but be ready for this, because if it's something that they've never seen, they're more than likely going to throw a flag on you. So you have to get those guys ready and be ready for that in the game when it does happen.
Those calls were big, and I'm not saying it would have impacted the score, but momentum-wise, early in the game, those were big. We do have another comment here on the Vandy, Texas game from George. What did you guys think of Vandy's defensive performance in the second half, considering the elite talent Texas has? I thought it was the best defensive half all year and kept them in the game.
Well, one thought about it. First of all, Ewers is not exactly Mr. Mobility.
No.
And so if teams can get to him by way of a blitz package, which in all honesty was how Vandy was going to have to do it. So they got, 4 sacks in the game?
Yep.
And most of that's because Ewers, for a kid that age, has zero mobility.
Yeah, he just went down.
He went down.
Yeah. But I thought it was good. I mean, they had to do that. They didn't really blitz much in the first half, and they finally put some heat on Ewers and figured out that they were just throwing screens left and right.
Kelly, I don't know what the stat is, but when you get a quarterback sack defensively, the odds of the opposing team driving for a touchdown go way, way down.
Yes, it's just like I was going to say this about the Titans. I told y'all last week the Titans have to stay, in front of the change. You've got to have a good first down play, get to 2nd and 6, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, stay on schedule. When they get behind schedule, it's like when you have a sack or when you have a holding penalty or something like that, they cannot overcome that the way they're playing right now. And that's tough to overcome by anybody. But yeah, that's when you have things set you back and you're struggling offensively, you just can't overcome it because it's hard enough to get 10 yards and now they back you up 10. It's 1st and 20. You're not going to get it in a big-time college football or the pros.
Ewers, I didn't see him make a throw that just made me go, oh, wow. Maybe
He's not overly impressive to me, man. He throws the ball sidearm. That's why he gets the ball tipped a lot. I don't know. I mean, I guess he's a good quarterback and he's a good player, and Sarkisian really likes him, but he just don't do it for me.
And on the Pavia side, he had the tipped interception, and they really got after him. I mean, that Texas defensive line is probably one of the best in the country, and they were the first team to really take them out of what they wanted to do.
They did the best job against him that anybody's done all year.
Right. And, they had to get creative. They hit some pass plays, but Pavia wasn't good enough with his legs, and I think that's because of Texas's defensive line. So they were now. Can any other defenses do that? We'll see about Auburn, South Carolina. They got a good defensive line. So does Tennessee. Vandy's going to have to figure out some other stuff to do because Texas shut down that element of their game.
Yeah. They've got pretty good athletes.
Yeah.
I know we need to go to the break. I'm going to make you some money. If you listen to me this weekend, Kelly, you know what you are?
What? Tell me.
A rich man. Stay tuned.
You are.
This is 94.9 The Fan. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
Instance, the go wrong part of it is the franchise ceding all control to Aaron Rodgers, and it is completely unchecked. And so color me skeptical for not believing that Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to lead this team back to contention to get this team to pull out of the nosedive that they're in right now. They are spiraling.
Evan, Canty, and Michelle are unsportsmanlike.
You do not put the number 1 overall pick in the draft in a game down 40-7. That is inexcusable. He's not a sacrificial lamb. Make him inactive. What the Carolina Panthers are doing to Bryce Young is now as bad as what he did to them.
Unsportsmanlike. Weekday mornings starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN2.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Final segment on a Reaction Monday. It's now time for Plaster's Bet of the Day. And we've got Monday Night Football tonight. We've got a lot of other things going on as well. Game 3 of the World Series, some NBA, NHL action. See where George is going. Let's take a look at the weekend recap first. And that was a darn good weekend.
Lot of wins there, Kelly.
That is a lot of wins, George. You did well.
I tried.
You did well.
So we want to continue on the roll, and the easy thing tonight, hopefully, is the Monday Night Football game where the Steelers seem to have gotten some mojo. They're a 6-point favorite at home against the Giants. That feels like it ought to be more than a touchdown. I'm taking the Steelers at home, not only to win outright, but to cover. Also tonight, although this has nothing to do with where we're going, Preds try to make it 4 in a row in Tampa. This will be a big homecoming for Steven Stamkos. And the Yankees got to win tonight, period. If they want to win this World Series, tonight has to be a win. And the problem with that is Walker Buehler, the former Vandy pitcher, throwing it a lot better in the last 3 weeks than during the regular season.
I think the Dodgers win again.
Oh, wow.
If they do, then Terry has wasted some money.
So he's going tomorrow night?
Yes.
Okay.
Beggars could not be choosy.
No.
These are not cheap tickets, Billy.
Who's going for the Yanks?
Schmidt.
Schmidt?
Yeah.
Clark Schmidt.
Yeah. He just better hope.
What happened to Ohtani? What happened to him? What injury did he
Shoulder. Was it shoulder?
Yeah, and he's made a miraculous comeback. I mean,
Really?
he was in a lot of pain when it happened, but apparently they've got him ready and raring to go tonight.
Big.
They got to have him.
Okay.
But
We'll see.
the Yankees have got to have a win, period. If this is going to be a series, tonight's got to be a win.
Yep.
Amen.
Billy, I'm sorry if we're keeping you awake, but we're done. Until tomorrow, Tony Basilio will join us to talk Tennessee, Kentucky, and Brent Swerneman from the Houston Chronicle to talk about the surging Texas A&M Aggies. This is 94.9 The Fan.